Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne, and this is episode 163. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit like, follow, or subscribe on the platform that you're listening to us on. You can also check out my work at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com, for exclusive hard rock and heavy metal interviews, live show coverage, and more. My guest for this episode is SCOTT HOLT. He is the current vocalist for the legendary blues rock act FOGHAT. FOGHAT is gearing up to release their first studio album in 7 years, entitled SONIC MOJO. The album drops on November 10th, 2023 through FOGHAT Records. This is the band's 17th studio album overall in their illustrious 50-plus year career. And here's SCOTT HOLT to tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about FOGHAT, how would you describe the band's music to me?
FOGHAT is a celebration of American music. They draw from the blues, country, R&B, soul. It's all mixed in there.
I like that description. I feel like I can hear it on your upcoming album that comes out on November 10th, SONIC MOJO, through FOGHAT Records. This is the first FOGHAT album in 7 years, their 17th overall. I have to ask you about the album's title, SONIC MOJO. There's no songs on the album called that. So what inspired the album's title?
You know, it's just it's like the description of FOGHAT. It's just kind of a over encompassing concept of how we put a record together. You know, we drew from Chuck Berry, we drew from, original songs. We drew from Kim Simmonds tunes that he wrote for us. Roger's brother wrote a song for us. There's just it's just a mixture of everything that FOGHAT's about. And so it's a Sonic Mojo.
FOGHAT is dedicating the album to the memory of Kim Simmonds, who was the frontman and founder of SAVOY BROWN, which is where FOGHAT drummer Roger Earl got his start. Were you involved in the songwriting process with Kim, or was it something between him and Roger?
Kim sent us some songs. He sent us some demos of just him singing and playing. And then we took them and kind of figured out how we would play them. And that was pretty much it. We were blessed that he sent us three songs that we were able to put on the record, and they're all great songs, and we're proud of all of them.
You've released a couple of them so far, I believe, as singles, Driving On and She's a Little Bit of Everything.
Right.
So if you want to talk a little bit about the song Driving On and kind of where it heads lyrically.
Well, like I said, he sent us these songs just as real bare bones demos. So it was just like him singing and playing guitar. And Roger and I would kind of sit around and listen to it and go, okay. So we kind of looked at each other and we said, well, Slim Harpo. And that's how we're going to channel. And so we channeled Slim Harpo and a little bit of John Lee Hooker, and that gives you Driving On.
You guys got another song that you co-wrote. You mentioned with Roger's brother, Colin Earl.
Yeah.
I Wish I'd Been There. It's kind of a tribute to Hank Williams. Actually, I really enjoyed the song. If you want to talk a little bit more about it.
Sure. That song was some lyrics that Roger had been carrying around. He told me for a little while that Colin had written. And this was just a sheet of paper with lyrics on it. So we didn't have any kind of idea about how we were going to do it. But of course, it's about Hank Williams. So, you're going to have to make a nod towards the Drifting Cowboys. And so we did. We kind of countryed it up a little bit. And Brian and I had some fun playing country licks on a song, on a FOGHAT song. So I was real proud of the way it turned out.
I find it hard to believe that nobody in FOGHAT or Colin Earl has seen a Hank Williams show.
Well, fortunately, I'm not old enough to have seen Hank, and I don't think Rodney is either. And Hank did go to Europe once, I think, for a USO tour. And I asked Roger, I said, did Colin get to see him when he was over there? He didn't think he did. So, but Hank's shadow looms large over music, period. So
absolutely. FOGHAT has another single coming out on October 20th that You guys didn't co-write with anyone, called I Don't Appreciate You, another great song. If you want to talk a little bit about that one.
Roger had this idea. He wanted to do this song, and he was upset with a person, so he wanted to write a song about him. And so he handed me the things that he had written, the lyric ideas that he had, and I thought it was just a very polite way to tell somebody to fuck off. And so the person that he wanted to write it about, I don't know, and I couldn't get mad at him, so I had to channel it about somebody that I didn't like, and we kind of wrote this song, which is sort of a punk song. And so when we sat down to figure out how we were going to do it, we looked at each other and said Sex Pistols. And so that's kind of the idea for that song.
As I mentioned before, it's been about 7 years since the last studio album by Foghat. I know that you guys have released a live album and a covers album along the way. I mean, with such a vast catalog, you could just sit on your legacy. What kind of inspires you to continue to write new music?
Well, the thing about this band is we're musicians first. It's all about the music, and it's a constantly creative environment. I mean, we live in the studio. When we get together and convene to record or rehearse, we're living in the studio. The instruments are in one room and you're sleeping in another room. So we're constantly writing. We're constantly, kicking around ideas about songs. At sound checks, we're always playing, some old Cream song or something, just kicking around. But it's a constant evolving thing. As a musician, as a real musician, you realize that there's no such thing as retirement. You can call it a retirement and you can not play as many gigs, but you're still going to pick that instrument up every day and you're still going to play it because that's who you are and what you do.
You're kind of a newer member to Foghat. You've worked with them in the past on Under the Influence, and you sort of have ties to Roger Earl and another band called Earl and the Agitators that he formed in 2015. Yeah. First question is it the same kind of music in Earl and the Agitators, or was this something where, Roger could do something a little different?
Well, coming into it, I thought that's what it would be, is that it would be doing something different. The way it started is they were working on their last studio album, Under the Influence, and they brought me in to co-write. They needed, I think, 1 or 2 more songs for the record, and we ended up writing 17. So we had to do something with them. We couldn't just leave them there. And so we decided to form a band and call it Earl and the Agitators. And now that I'm the lead singer, it's become another Foghat record. So we should probably put it back out, Foghat, as Earl and the Agitators.
So how did you make the transition from Earl and the Agitators to Foghat?
It wasn't really much of a jump. I mean, what I did in Earl and the Agitators is what I do in Foghat, and it's what I did in my solo career, and it's what I did with Buddy. I'm not smart enough to be able to change the way I approach it. I just I try to honor the spirit of Lonesome Dave, who I'm filling in for. I don't sing like Dave. I don't play guitar like Dave. I don't sing like Charlie. So the guys that came before me, I'm respectful of honoring them while I'm doing my thing. And the guys in the band have been real patient, and they've let me find my way and try to become the fourth wheel of the band, I guess you could call it.
Now, you mentioned you used to play with Buddy Guy. How long were you with him?
I was with Buddy for 10 years. I joined his band in 89 and left him in 2000.
Are you guys still keep in touch?
Oh yeah, I talked to him a couple of days ago. He's doing good. He's 87 years old. He's on his farewell tour. He's calling it the farewell tour. So he's doing like twice as many shows as any other artist in the world right now. He's taking a little break. I think he's got a couple of weeks off, but he's doing great. I love him to death. I call him as much as I can and try to see him as much as I can when we're close.
Foghat tours pretty relentlessly too. You guys are currently on the Road Fever Tour 2023. I noticed you're going to be in my neck of the woods, but on the other end of the state on the 5th at the Topsfield Fair. You're going to be playing with Starship featuring Mickey Thomas. Have you ever played with that version of Starship?
I haven't. I know the other guys have. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of Mickey's. He was on one of my favorite records, "Fooled Around and Fell in Love," the Elvin Bishop record. Which, when I was a kid, I thought Elvin Bishop was singing, but I found out later it was Mickey Thomas. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think that's one of the great mysteries of rock and roll, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Elvin would have done as good a job singing it as Mickey did.
I think he still performs it live, Mickey.
Good song.
I noticed your schedule is a little all over the place. You guys are in Massachusetts one day, then you're in Nevada, then you're down in Florida, then you're back in Nevada. You guys just like crisscrossing across the country.
We've mastered the art of the dartboard tour. You just close your eyes and throw darts, and that's where we're going.
Now, I noticed a decent amount of casino gigs. I've been hearing from a lot of musicians that this is the place to be, these casino gigs.
Casinos can be a lot of fun. We've played a bunch of them, and they usually have great sound and lights, and the audiences are always energetic and glad to be there, and it's fun, and some of the guys get to gamble after the show's over, so everybody gets something out of the deal.
Picking a set list with a catalog that's so vast, how does that go? Do you guys keep it consistent with a little bit of everything from each album, or do you try to mix it up along the way?
That is the existential wrestling match that we always go through. Putting the set list together, you have to remember the history of the band, but it's not a tribute band, so you don't want to play only the old stuff. So, but people are coming to the show, they're going to want to hear Slow Ride. They're going to want to hear Fool for the City. There's songs that you're expected to perform. So we try to play the classics, the things that we know they're going to want to hear, mix in some deep tracks, things that they haven't heard Foghat do live, and then play the new stuff too. And we play all of it with the same energy and enthusiasm and with the same integrity. And that's why I think that's what makes it go over with the audience. I think the audience hears the new stuff in the same spirit as they hear Slow Ride, and they accept it, and appreciate it.
How many songs from the new album have you been able to work into the set?
Right now I think we're doing 3 off the new record. I know we're doing 2. We're doing the 2 singles that have already dropped, and we played the 3rd single at the last show, so I think we're probably going to add it into the set. I'm always fighting for the new stuff. I'm ready to go. So, but it's a great record. I'm real proud of it. All the guys are proud of it, and we can't wait for people to hear it. I
was blown away by it. Not the biggest Foghat fan over the years, but this one, I liked it from beginning to end. It was really impressive. The covers were great. It blended in well with the original material. It's like you guys are firing on all cylinders right now.
It's a really good band. I'm real grateful to be in the band. I love playing with these guys. They're all fantastic musicians, and everybody. I mean, the whole crew, the whole organization, the whole Foghat family is just a fantastic group of people, and I'm really grateful to be part of it.
Now, what's old is new again. Everybody's doing the vinyl format. You guys got a fantastic neon purple vinyl that goes along with this. Are you a vinyl collector yourself?
I am. In fact, I own a record store in Tennessee where I live. And so vinyl's a big part of my life. And these days, when I'm on the road, I carry all my music on a hard drive so I can listen to my records on the road. But when I'm at home, it's all vinyl. I listen to vinyl nonstop.
So let's talk a little bit about this record store. Is it mainly a vinyl venture, or do you have CDs and now cassettes are coming back and all that other stuff?
Yeah, it's probably 85% to 90% vinyl. It's called Variety Records. It was originally Ernest Tubb Records #2 back in the late 50s. And a lady in my hometown of Columbia bought the record store from the Ernest Tubb people, changed the name to Variety. So it's been in a part of Columbia since the 60s. It's where we used to have to go to buy our concert tickets. You had to line up in front of the store to wait on her to open to get your concert tickets. So I bought it with a partner of mine back in 2018. and it's just going great. I mean, vinyl's had a resurgence, and we're really grateful to Taylor Swift for putting out all of her records so that we can sell them for.
Yeah, but she's putting the brakes on everybody else trying to press a vinyl.
I tell you what, man, she's clicking right now. I'm glad for her. It's good stuff.
Now, Foghat has their own line of wines called Foghat Cellars. Is this something that the band partnered up with an established winery, or does somebody in the band own a winery?
No, I think this is something that Roger and Linda, our manager, they got with a winemaker out in California a few years before I was even part of the band, and started making wine, and it's really good wine. So I'm always happy around the holidays. I usually get a couple of bottles sent to me, so I'm excited, looking forward to it again this year.
Is this something you guys sell at the gigs along with your music?
No, alcohol is a difficult thing to to get around sometimes. But we've done wine tastings, we've done some meet and greets where we've had the wine backstage, and so we promote it properly, I think.
Scott, do you do any other music related ventures besides Foghat? I mean, between Foghat and the music store, I'm not sure you'd have time to do something else.
Well, I'm always playing music. I don't do a lot of solo stuff these days because I'm busy with the Foghat stuff, but I've played around with some other people and do other things, but it's always music. I'm constantly playing music, and it's just it's who I am.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Scott. The new Foghat album is Sonic Mojo. It comes out on November 10th on Foghat Records, and I'm glad you could take the time today to tell me more about it.
George, I'm really glad to talk to you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Once again, I want to thank Scott Holt of Foghat for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Sonic Mojo, when it drops on November 10th. In the meantime, head over to your favorite music streaming platform. Take a listen to what's available now. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy. Support the artist. For all things Foghat, head over to their official website, foghat.com. I also want to thank Amanda Kagan at ABC PR for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.